So you have to look at Raila Odinga. What is the biggest motive? What is the biggest incentive? What is the biggest motive? What is the biggest incentive that could get Raila on the table? This is somebody who had spent his entire first 2 years hating on Ruto. In fact, I interviewed him. You're going to see my interview of Raila there, and he was just talking smack about Ruto. What could incentivize Raila Odinga to join Ruto? What could bring him on the table? What could be so compelling? What could be so enticing and juicy that could bring him to the table? Let me tell you one thing. Raila's hate for Kikuyus is historical. He's a historical and a generational hater of Kikuyus. Anything that Kikuyus would seem like it's benefiting Kikuyus, Raila would be on board to destroy Kikuyus. You need to understand that. You need to understand even the post-election violence. While William Ruto was the executor, he was the executor of the genocide. The brains behind the post-election violence was Raila Odinga, because his campaign platform at the time was 41 versus 1. So it was 41 communities versus Kikuyus. And you need to read the ODM briefs and minutes that I've shared severally on X, and they're on my Telegram channel, where they're talking. You can literally see how Raila's deep-seated hate for Kikuyus is rife. So the only way, Gemma, thank you very much. The only way that Ruto could have gotten Raila to the table is if he told him that these protests had one or the other, they had one association or the other with Mount Kenya. That was the only incentive. That was the only incentive that could have gotten Raila to the table, whereby now they said that by saving William Ruto, we are joining the government. We are joining the Kenya Kusha shit show to save William Ruto, but we are saving him from what? So that Kikuyus don't benefit. So they needed to attach the protests to Kikuyus and to Mount Kenya, so as to get to rally politicians from all other communities. You see, now we are back to 41 versus 1. Now, never forget the fact that we kept saying we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are partyless. We kept saying that. There was a TikToker, there was a content creator there called Anini Baraza. She did a viral video saying, Raila, stay at home. Let us finish the job. In fact, we can finish the job and hand this to you. You can imagine he sacrificed. He sacrificed presidency because the Gen Zs had told him, you stay at home. Don't interfere with whatever we are doing. You stay at home, and then we are going to give you, once we finish Kumalo, we are going to hand this presidency to you on a silver platter. He turned that down. Now, there must be some compelling reasons beyond money. Remember, money as a motive alone cannot drive somebody to abscond, to suspend their long-held values and beliefs. You understand? Money alone, there has to be some element of ideology. That's why even the people who go for political rallies or political meetings, before treetop, yes, we are having a critical thinking class. Before they pay you, if you're a politician, the politicians, what they do, before they give you the handouts, they don't just make it a habit to just land to just land in whatever and just dish money on the road. What they do is they call you for a meeting, and then they radicalize you, inspire you, motivate you, call you to action, but the money you'll be given afterwards. You understand? So here is the logic, here is the rationale. For Raila to come to the table, for Raila Odinga to come to the table and now decide, now we are going to save William Ruto, it was more than just money. There had to be a tribal, there had to be an ethnic element. And the ethnic element, the only way you can get Raila Odinga is if you are telling him, we are here to destroy Kikuyus. That if you join here, you understand, Mika is saying your wife might not only be living with you because of love, but your ideology. Yes. You understand? Raila Odinga, his hate for Kikuyus is so pronounced. It is so deep-seated. It is so deep-rooted that anywhere you just need to tell him about Kikuyus. And I need you to look at what Gaucho is saying. I need you to look at what Gaucho is talking. What Gaucho is saying is he's the gramophone. He's the amplifier of Raila's depravity and mental impotence. I need you to get it again. He's the amplifier, he's the gramophone of Raila's depravity and mental illness. Now, when Gaucho is talking at Bunge la Mwananchi, the comments that he makes could not have been procured one day or 1 week. This is somebody who has been sitting with Raila, listening to him, having this off-the-cuff discussion, because I have been in the same situation. I've been with those boomers when they want me to push their agenda. They don't just call you to push an agenda. They first tell you, kuja kwangu nyumbani, tuongee. And then you go there, you talk. And then they tell you, let's meet here in a bar. And, you know, that bar is not interactive, or that session or that forum is not interactive. You understand? So whatever you're hearing Gaucho regurgitating, that is Raila talking off the cuff. Raila has a script that he plays to the public gallery whenever he wants to project himself as a African statesman or a nationalist or freedom fighter or whatever you tag that you want to identify with him. But what you heard from Gaucho, that is now the real Raila Odinga. What I repeat it again because I don't want anything to be lost in context. Whatever you are hearing from Gaucho, that is the mind of Raila Odinga in a very unconventional delivery mechanism. You understand? So, for William Ruto to bait Raila Odinga, for him to bait Raila Odinga to join the Kenya Kwanza government and put a block on the maandamano of last year, there had to be something more than money. There had to be something more than cash. And it is deep-rooted in the ideology. And the ideology of Raila Odinga is simple. Anything that will destroy the Kikuyu community, please allow me to land. Please allow me to land. It will only be a couple of more minutes. Allow me to land. I'm getting somewhere with my conversation. It will all connect. I'm not Mbanya, who's just coming out of the blue to say Gema for Gema. It will all connect. It will all add up. If you are following, this is the 20 minutes, the most important 20 minutes of your life. So it will connect. Why do you have to go around? I have to go around because I don't want anything to be lost in context. I don't want to be misquoted. You hear when? That's why I'm going around in circles. I have to start from the history because you can never know where you're going until you know where you've been. You understand? We will never know where we are going because if we don't make sense of what is happening, you're going to get lost again. You're going to get triggered. You're going to get disrupted so that the next time tunarudi kwa maandamano, we will be focused. Because last time we were so distracted, easily gaslit. Now we will be focused. And that focus cannot be achieved when you don't know the shenanigans, when you don't know what is happening under the table. You understand? So, this Wayne, I can tell whatever agenda you're trying. So, I can tell whatever you are trying. Please don't try anything funny on the comment section. I block immediately. Yeah? If you want to push your agenda, push on your own timeline. Don't come and push an agenda here. Don't come and push an agenda on the comment section. Please, you can push it on your own page. Here, whatever. I don't want to switch off the comments. Listen, I'm not that guy. But you won't push an agenda here parallel to mine. You won't push an agenda parallel to mine. Okay, guys are saying I switch off the comments, so I don't know where I go because I can see. I can't see the settings for switching off the comments, but I can't see the settings, but I want to. Please don't push an agenda here. Don't push an agenda. Me, I'm coming to give you whatever I have analyzed. You can discuss about my comments. Please don't come to give your ideas here. I think, myself, I spend a lot of time thinking. So, Belana, you're telling me to focus. I cannot focus when I can see agendas, and we are fighting everything, land, sea, and air. So whatever I'm doing is important. I've done this work severally. So please, saa zingine usinifunze kazi. So Raila's belief system is deeply rooted in anti-Kikuyu sentiment. You understand? Raila's belief system, his entire DNA structure, is built on anti-Kikuyu sentiment. So anything that involves killing, displacing, mass murdering, depriving, Raila is on board. Again, if you go on X, you look at Gabriel Oguda, you look at GDP Kaluma, that MP from that Homa Bay area. You look at December, there's a Twitter called, there's a tweet called December, and then there's another one called Collins Bay. If you look at those, and Robert Alai, if you look at those 5 accounts, those ones, they regurgitate what Raila Odinga's head. You understand? That is Raila Odinga's thinking. So, you need to understand. So, Raila's belief system entirely, his DNA structure is hardwired with anti-Kikuyu sentiment. So, the only way that William Ruto could have convinced Raila Odinga to come to the table was baiting him with anti-Kikuyu sentiment. Now, how did he do that? How did he execute that? Now, me, I was arrested. My first arrest was on July 15th. My second arrest was on August 7th. My third arrest was on October 22nd. You understand? Sorry, just a minute. So, thank you very much. Chill. So, whatever. Just a minute. So, Raila's entire DNA infrastructure is routed in anti-Kikuyu sentiment. You understand? It is routed. It is firmly routed in that. So, that was the only way he could have gotten, William Ruto could have gotten Raila to the table, is if he told him, or if he associated the protests with Kikuyus. Now, how did he do it? Number one, they arrested Justin Muturi's son. Justin Muturi's son has never been involved in the protests, has never spoken anything about the protests, has never even done anything related, protest related. I know him, he's my friend Leslie. He has never done anything related to the protests. You understand? So they arrested him to craft the illusion that Justin Muturi was using his son to infiltrate and to manage and to manipulate the protests of last year. Are we together? Are we on board? Are we together? Please, I need you to respond to the comments where I want to draw the sequence of events. You understand? So William Ruto needed to conjoin the protests with Mount Kenya so as to bait the opposition, which would have saved him from either us banning parliament or number two, from impeachment or vote of no confidence. So he had to convince them beyond a shadow of doubt that these the protest is a Mount Kenya initiative. You as well as everyone else knows, hakuna mahali Wakikuyu walikuwa on that protest. It was young people, it was Gen Zs, it was everyone. We were united for the first time in Kenyan history as tribeless, partyless, leaderless. But for him to bring Raila to the table, for him to convince him, he needed to bait him. You see, everyone, you have a way of being gaslit. Everyone has your own weak point. For instance, if you are a lady and you have a husband or a boyfriend, an abusive boyfriend, they have a way they gaslight you to now towing their line. They have a way they can do something, especially if you're in an abusive setup. You have your own weakness and trigger mechanisms that gaslight you into now doing something rash, doing something bad. For instance, your partner can tell you something, can text you something that will make you go crazy, go violent, go do. So Raila's trigger mechanism is Kikuyus. Raila hates Kikuyus with a passion. So the only way that William Ruto could have got him on the table is to connect the protest to Kikuyus or to Mount Kenya. So number one, they got Justin Muturi's son. They arrested him for no good reason. Justin Muturi's son is apolitical. He does not even care about politics. I've told you, he's my friend. He does not care about politics. He has never spoken about politics. He has his childhood friends who just happen to be politicians because his father and their fathers were friends. So those are his networks. That is all. But him, even the time I've tried to engage him in political discourse, he does not care. But they needed something. So he was at a restaurant called Al-Fajiri. They arrested him, or they abducted him. So that was their first step in trying to associate the protests with Mount Kenya, because they needed to hoodwink. Because we are back to 41 versus 1, which he successfully engineered in 2007, leading to the post-election violence. So 41 versus 1 was 41 communities versus Kikuyus. It was as simple as that, or versus Mount Kenya, whatever you want to think about it. It's called Ibrahim Diaz. Thank you very much for endorsing my presidential bid. Thank you very much. Welcome, Gen Z Buddy. I need Gen Z Buddy. I like your initiative on social media, and I need you to make sense of this. So the only way, I keep repeating this because I need it imprinted in your heads, the only way that William Ruto could have gotten Raila Odinga to the table beyond money, because money on its own is not an incentive, it's not a motivator. If you think that you're buying somebody with money, if you think that you're buying your wife or your husband or your workers with money, at the end of the day, they will disappoint you, because money is not whatever, is not grounding enough as an ideology. There has to be sentiment. There has to be ideology in itself. There has to be purpose. So for Raila to be able to convince, for Ruto to be able to convince Raila Odinga to suspend his common sense, everything, the values that he stood for, everything that he had said, to momentarily forget all the Luos that had been killed in the protests that were happening in 2023, for him to suspend that, he needed to bring him to the table with something more than just money, and that is anti-Kikuyu sentiment. So number one, they arrested Justin Muturi's son. That couldn't, obviously that didn't work well, because now you arrest the son, you're not arresting the father. Why didn't you arrest the father to begin with? You need to understand the game that is being played here, and everyone is on board. Why didn't you arrest the father to begin with? Why did you arrest the son? Now, me, I was arrested. When they first got me, the first question they were always asking me, have you ever spoken to Gachagua? That was the first question they asked you. Well, that's the first question DCI they were asking me. Have you ever spoken to Rigathi Gachagua? I have no interest in ever speaking to Rigathi Gachagua. I've never. But that was the first question. So I was Because Gen Z bad is asking, surely Gachagua, because they needed to perpetuate the myth that this movement was not organic. It was not young people who rose on themselves based on their own convictions. They needed to associate it with somebody. So it was, mine was Gachagua or Wanjigi. But the one who they were mostly concerned with was Gachagua. Now, the worst part is they were not getting Gachagua. They were not arresting Gachagua. They were not doing anything else. Yes, they impeached him, but that's as far as it goes. So I was very confused. I was very confused. Why are you associating with me with this son of a bitch called Gachagua? I've never met him. I don't like him. I hate the way he appears on TV, just spewing verbal diarrhea, not saying anything of importance. I hate how he distracts the masses with his rubbish. So I was very confused. Have you ever met Gachagua? Have you ever spoken to Gachagua? There you go. Treetop is asking a very important question. Why not arrest Gachagua's son? They arrested everyone. Trust me, ask even the boys who were kidnapped the other day, Akina Kibet Bull. That's the first question they're asking you when ukiabdaktiwa. That's the first question they're asking you. Do you know Gachagua? Have you ever met Gachagua? Now, as if on cue, you remember sometime in July, Gachagua was in Mombasa. He hosted a press conference where he was talking about Nurdin Haji and this protest that Nurdin Haji did not inform Ruto. I don't know, Nurdin Haji needs to go, blah, 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 blah. In essence, and it was a live presser and it was on mainstream media and he was still the DP. In essence, he was trying, using that press conference, to insinuate himself as the leader of the Gen Z. You understand? Reborn Solomon is there, has asked the question I am getting to. Could Gachagua be the project of the same system? Wait, I'm getting there. You have already seen it, but let's get there together. Let's, ni safari. He hosted a very fiery press conference. Yenye press conference ilikuwa na tension. If you remember, hiyo press conference ilikuwa na tension. Ati, hey, oh, I don't know what, NIS, hey, Nurdin Haji, I don't know what. It was a very scripted presser. He was trying to create himself or to fashion himself as associated with the Gen Zs. And because of that presser, because of that press conference afterwards, it was immediately after that that Raila started collaborating with Ruto. Because now Raila was told, angalia, unaona hii kitu ni ya Wakikuyu. Angalia, wewe kujeni muniokoe, come and save me because Wakikuyu wakiingia we nyinyi mumeisha. So the biggest problem and our biggest undoing, our biggest liability has been none other than Rigathi Gachagua. Because had Rigathi Gachagua gone quiet after the protest started, aende quiet na anyamaze, like all other cabinet secretaries and everything, anyamaze tu, angoje. There was no need for him to host that presser, number one. There was no need for him to do the heightened political activities that he was doing, number two. So when, and that's why I'm telling you, it cannot be a coincidence. This was planned. Remember, the Ruto and Raila fallout between 2017 and 2022. Remember, all of that was choreographed to create a freedom fighter in Ruto. He has never been a freedom fighter. He doesn't stand for any values. But to create a freedom fighter in him, which would have then endeared himself to the masses. So don't be confused. Aren't now Ruto and Raila together? Isn't now Ruto and Uhuru together? Isn't now Uhuru's people in the cabinet? Don't you have them now? Mutahi Kagwe, Lee Kinyanjui, all these other bastards who looted from us then, aren't they in cabinet right now? So why would you doubt, or why would you undermine, or whatever, you downplay the significance of the system in foisting the government, first of all, and their own opposition? You understand? So at the end of the day, you're still a winner. And here the game is for splitting votes. So they deployed Rigathi Gachagua to be controlled opposition. I call it controlled opposition. They deploy him. He starts ranting, and then Raila comes, he takes the bait. He takes the bait, Raila, and now they create this whole thing called an impeachment charade. Mohammed Amin, Kenya has no opposition. Yes, Kenya is a one-party state. Kenya has been a one-party state since 2013. You need to understand that. So Gema 001, when I say that they are whatever, I'm not saying it for you now to jump it and to run it as the agenda. It's not the problem of the tribes, it's the problem of the system. The system foists whoever it wants and whoever it will gain and oppress. Understand? So they got Raila Odinga on board. They impeached Rigathi Gachagua. Now, Rigathi Gachagua has been facilitated with the funds to do campaigns similar to a presidential campaign right now. Now, assuming worst case scenario, we get to 2027, which I highly doubt. I don't think even Ruto has any shelf life more than 2 months. But assume worst case scenario, we get to 2027. Anyone who is mounting the kind of campaign that Rigathi is doing right now, we would have gone broke. You understand? Anyone who is doing the kind of campaign that Rigathi is doing right now, from now to 2027, you would have gone broke. For you to mount the kind of campaign that you're doing, it has to be government money. I saw him in Kitengela. Kitengela, he had hired people to come on the road, and then they are simulating and creating the illusion that he's very popular. You saw him last week in Kitengela. That kind of logistics, that kind of mechanism can only be sponsored by GOK. You understand? That kind of logistics can only be sponsored by government of Kenya. So they deployed him to create this illusion of opposition. They created this illusion of now we are opposed to this guy, blah, blah, blah. But essentially, they are all working for one and the same person. Now, look at what Akinambanya are doing. Let's fast forward to today. Look at what Akinambanya are doing. Look at what Gaucho is doing. Now, if we, just a minute. There is that guy, what's this guy called? Erico, let me show you. So, fast forward to today. This is what Gaucho is speaking. This is what Gaucho is saying. You can feel the anger. This is what Mbanya is saying. He's saying Gema for Gema. I want to challenge him. If he feels like he's so Gema, I want to challenge him to a fundraising online, and we see how much he'll get from the Gema people now that he's running on that Gema sentiment. You understand? So fast forward to what they are talking about today, the tribalism. Who else, who has catalyzed tribalism in our setup, in our discourse, in our public discourse? Because don't forget, last year we were on an intellectual high. We're talking about debt, we're talking about taxes, we're talking about the finance bill, we're talking about the items there, we're talking about the things they were taxing, especially women, the sanitary pads and everything. Yeah? You understand? Let's remember momentarily of how we were on an intellectual high. We were never talking about tribes. Now, who has exacerbated, who has thrusted the tribal conversation in the country? It is none other than Rigathi Gachagua. He's just been going saying Murima, Murima. Me, I'm a Murima guy. Me, I'm a Kikuyu. He does not speak on my behalf. He will never get my vote. I know nobody in Mount Kenya will vote for him, but he has manufactured the consent that he's the kingpin even before us, we have anointed him. He has manufactured the consent that he's the kingpin based on bribing a few influencers. So who is the one who has escalated tribal conversation, tribal discourse when it had disappeared completely? Remember in June, we were tribeless, partyless, leaderless. It had disappeared completely. Who has done it? It is Rigathi Gachagua. And so he has paid all these influencers. There is an idiot called Jim Jue on X. There's another idiot called Cornelius Kiprono who faked his own abduction. He has exacerbated and got these guys to constantly make him trend and everything, just to heighten the tribal sentiment, which is not for the benefit of us Kikuyus or Mount Kenya people. Its benefit and its sole purpose is to galvanize other communities against Mount Kenya. And so it will forever keep Raila Odinga on the table. For as long as Gachagua is making noise, which is where now I want you to see that it is scripted, for as long as Rigathi Gachagua is making noise touting Murima, even when Murima, it is counterproductive to Murima's interest, for as long as he's going there masquerading and telling people that now I saw him when he had gone to Machakos, was it somewhere in Ukambani? And then he says, unajua hii kitu ni game ya maths, tukishikana wa Kikuyu. He's talking about tribal arithmetic, which is irrelevant because don't forget that 8 million Kenyans boycotted the last elections. Another 4 million did not register to vote. So whatever metrics that they may use, even if they rely on the tribal arithmetic, they do not have the numbers. Because 8 million Kenyans boycotted the elections. Ruto won with 7.1 million. If those 8 million alone get in, none of them is winning. So those tribal arithmetics are null and void. They are irrelevant. You understand? So who has exacerbated tribal discourse, tribal sentiment in the country when it was least necessary, least needed? It is none other than Rigathi Gachagua. Now, do you think he's doing it without the knowledge of the state? Me, I just did a few tweets. Those guys had pulled up to my crib. You understand? Just a few tweets. This guy is moving and campaigning weekend. He hajawai guzwa. His children have never been arrested. Him himself, his wife has never been arrested. She's now in Seattle, USA. They are moving, they are living their lives freely. But the very people who have nothing to do with whatever he's preaching, now that is us. Kila mtu alishikwa. Na kitu ya kwanza ulikuwa unashikwa. Self-made had asked a very important question. Who told you Ruto won? You understand? So even when they rigged and did everything, they only got 7.1 million and 8 million Kenyans had boycotted. So Gachagua hajawahi shikwa, mimi nimeshikwa kwa sababu ya tweets 2, 3, 4. Huyu mwingine Kibet Bull ameshikwa kwa sababu ya memes 3, 4. Ati ameweka. Wale wengine walishikwa kwa sababu ya kuweka Ruto kwa jeneza. Understand? Karen, we are not talking about IBC. We don't care about IBC even if it's not formed. That's not our agenda. That's the agenda for boomers. As we want the system to come down, we are going to make a new IBC after they are gone. Kelvin is asking, why was I asked if I spoke to Gachagua? Because they were perpetuating the myth that the protests were sponsored. And if you remember William Ruto's speech on June 25th, he was alluding to the fact that they are foreign people, so they started with the Ford Foundation, and they started with who? Then they started with their local people. But they were zeroing in on Gachagua because he was the bait to bring Raila Odinga, Richard Onyonka, and all other politicians who hate Mount Kenya and Kikuyus to the table. That was the only galvanizing factor, was that they had to associate the protest to Kikuyus. You and I as well know that this was a universal initiative. Everyone was joining us. Everyone was part of us. We were all together. We were all united. But they needed to bring, remember, Abizwena, I've seen you. Welcome. That's my comrade. That's my sister, Abizwena. Love you very much, Abi. Welcome. Everyone needs to know, Abizwena, we started this shit together. This civic education, we have been tumetoka mbali. So these are the people we should hold in high regard. Not the Aokos that you're seeing the other day. And I'm going to talk about Aoko because I know it's a funny issue to all of you. So the only unifying factor, the only galvanizing component that could have brought other communities to the table to save William Ruto was their universal hate for Kikuyus. And you just need to look at You just need to look at what Joho has said about Kikuyus in the past. You just need to look at what Kingi has said about Joho in the Kikuyus about in the past. Oparanya, everyone in the opposition who was baited to join the government to save William Ruto, they are there united by their common hate for Kikuyus. So it's not about money. It's not about positions. While they are good, what has united them there is their common hate. Now, it may be a bitter pill for many of you to swallow, but indeed, Rigathi Gachagua has been dispatched by the same system to go and create this semblance of whatever, Mount Kenya supremacy or Mount Kenya exceptionalism, so that it can be used to gaslight other communities against the Kikuyus. You're telling me to talk about Mbanya. Fast forward. I have already fast forwarded to now what Gaucho is talking about, what Mbanya is talking about, what Githaiga is talking about. That heightened emotional tribal rhetoric is meant. It doesn't benefit me as a Kikuyu. Kikuyu, it doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit me one bit. It is meant. You are not the audience. The Kikuyus are not the audience of his messaging. Yes, he could have a few there staged and pretending to have an organic conversation, but the Kikuyus are not the audience. The audience is other communities who will now see, oh, this is what Kikuyus are planning. Oh, so Kikuyus can be so selfish to believe themselves that they are exceptional. So what do? Let's keep on isolating them. Let's keep on balkanizing them. You understand? But the tribal arithmetic is irrelevant, but it is only relevant to the old guard and to keep Raila Odinga and other opposition members on the table to save Ruto from impeachment or no vote of no confidence or whatever you want to call it. Treetop is asking, what's in it for Gachagua to betray Kikuyus? These guys, there is a section of Kikuyus who always gain when they go against the grain. Let me repeat it again. Let me repeat it for you to understand. There is a section of Kikuyus since time immemorial, from the days of the colonialists, when we had the home guards and we had the sellouts, and we used to call them tokonias. Tokonias was because they were wearing sacks and they would go to identify Mau Mau co-conspirators or supporters or affiliates at parades, identification parades. So they would go dressed in sacks, which had small eyes and a nose here. So since time immemorial, we've always had a class or a section of Kikuyus who've always benefited by going against the grain. So anyone knows, once you go to the Kikuyu community and tap into their greed, the greed of a few individuals, you will get them to run your errands and at the expense of the community. So Gachagua, whatever, Abizuana has gifted me a perfume. Thank you, Abi. Everyone, Gachagua knows that he will never gain in a government which is a merit-oriented environment. Other people are people like David Ndi, Mutahi Ngunyi, SK Masharia was in the Moi government, Kamodo JJ, Peter Kenneth, Jeremiah Kioni. Those are people who benefit when they are going against the grain. You understand? So Gachagua is one of them. He knows in a merit-oriented environment, government of national unity, there is nothing for him. That's why he has to keep on touting Murima, because that's the only thing he brings to the table. He has no intellect. He's not an industrialist of repute. He's nothing. So the system has allowed him to continue perpetuating that anti-Kikuyu sentiment. You understand? So that, not for our benefit, he has never gone to the table when he was in office to discuss about our interests. To, in fact, if you read, I challenge you, after this, you go and Google, you're going to see Rigathi Gachagua. You're going to see Rigathi Gachagua was the guy behind the mess in the coffee sector. You're going to find Rigathi Gachagua was the guy with the mess in the tea sector. So the very sectors that have profited the Mount Kenya region were the first ones that he attacked. So he's not there for Mount Kenya people, but to perpetuate the myth, to create a semblance, to manufacture the consent that he's the kingpin. He has to constantly tout Murima because that's the only thing he brings to the fucking table. You understand? You understand? So it's not even divide and rule. It's just tapping into people's naivety, people's whatever. They tap into our naivety, and because I've told you they needed bait to trap Raila Odinga beyond money, because we already had offered Raila the presidency. Are you understanding? There was this TikToker called Anini Baraza. She told Raila, stay at home, let us finish the job you have fought for us, let us finish. So now for Raila to suspend his dreams of presidency, because we told him, let's get rid of Ruto and then we are going to install you as the president. Now for him to suspend that, who is this? Gamer 001 has given me a heart. Thank you. I don't even know how to retrieve the gifts. So thank you. I just think it's a cool thing. For Raila to suspend, there must be a very strong conviction. Imagine somebody is offering you the presidency and you say no. My first objective. These kids have already committed verbally that they are going to give me the presidency once they get rid of Ruto. They have told me all I have to do is sit at home and they are going to finish Kumalo for me and they give me the presidency on a silver platter. Now, for you to discard that so as to save Ruto, what do you imagine they kept for him on the table beyond money? It was something more. And what was it? It was anti-Kikuyu sentiment. Because Raila hates Kikuyus. Raila dreams. Raila's biggest dream today would be all Kikuyus to die, to be exterminated from the face of the earth. I don't know what historical reasons stemming from Jaramogi Odinga with Kenyatta and him with Kibaki. I don't know what historical reasons that he knows or he has or which are so compelling to make him hate the community like that, but that is the biggest trigger. I have told you, everyone has a trigger. You have a trigger that somebody close to you knows. There's somebody who knows, nikinyamazia huyu, nikipoeshia simu, atakasirika. So they will do that intentionally to get you on the precipice of going crazy. If they want, if they wield that power over you, they are going to use whatever bait that they have to get you to implode. You understand? So, Idris anasema ati what if Gen Z thing is also a system power strategy? Don't like stupid questions. Let me block you. Ask those stupid questions to your mother. You understand? So, what could be very compelling to make Raila Odinga suspend his presidential dreams and ambitions so as to join the table to protect Ruto, to defend Ruto? The only thing that is powerful and strong enough for Raila Odinga to suspend his dreams and aspirations, what was so strong was his hate for anti-Kikuyu. So he was told, hii Gen Z yote unajua ni Kikuyu wamepanga, unajua hii kitu ni Gachagua wamepanga, anataka anitoe akuwe president. Hey, oh my God, no, I did not know. Oh, you mean? So it is easy to gaslight. I can see Mbanya has joined with his anti-Kikuyu rhetoric. Welcome. We are here. We want to convert. We want to convert everyone so that we can be on the same journey. We understand that many of you could be infiltrated and misused, but we need to ensure that we have a critical mass of focused people who can see, who can read through the fine print. So the only way they could have gotten Raila Odinga to the table was through anti-Kikuyu sentiment. That is the only way. They got him there. They started perpetuating the myth that regarding Gachagua. And they were so convinced. Like William Ruto was so convincing. But he was not speaking to us on June 25th. We were not The audience was politicians from opposition stronghold, because he kept saying what? That this thing has been funded. This thing has been supported by some people, even some people from outside the country. But all of that was just a script to trigger and to bait other politicians to coalesce against Mount Kenya. So once they came, then they said, number one, let's protect William Ruto, first of all, from this onslaught of the Gen Z who are being funded by Rigathi Gachagua. I've never met or spoken to Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua does not inspire me one bit. He has never said anything that I felt compelled to retweet, to repost. Nothing of substance. So why would I, when I was arrested by DCI, why would they ask me whether I have ever spoken to Gachagua, and they have never picked up his sons? They have never picked him up. They have never picked his wife up. Simu la pi zikachukuliwa. All because whatever. All because of this guy. Ati wanatafuta evidence kuona kama nilikuwa naongea na wao. I swear to one God. I swear I challenge you to call anyone mwenye ashahadbakiwa. Umuulize kitu ya kwanza DCI wanakuuliza ni nini ama hao NRS. They were just looking for something that would connect him to Rigiji, because they needed to convince the idiots in the opposition that the protests were associated with Mount Kenya. You understand? Saying they tried to kill Gachagua in Mount Kenya. This is not a Gachagua sympathy party. If you want to extend your sympathy to Gachagua, you can do it on your own timeline. If we didn't have the element of Gachagua constantly campaigning, prematurely campaigning, we would not be having the tribal sentiment, the escalated tribal sentiment that Gaucho and Mbanya are using, are escalating with. You understand? So all of these things, the offshoots of Gachagua's verbal diarrhea, the offshoots and the whatever, the resultant or cumulative effect of Gachagua's verbal diarrhea is now these smaller offshoots we are seeing in the likes of Mbanya. You understand? Mbanya, Gaitho, these are the idiot called Lady Jacqueline. You know, you guys follow just anyone too mwenye amejitokeza. Somebody without brains, somebody without logic or common sense. You just follow them too. Fwa. Fwa. So, just a minute. I have to drag. It makes you drag. Oh, I had to drag. Sorry, I haven't done this live in a long while, so I've seen I have to drag to show that I'm still online. So, Akinambanya are the offshoots. They are the cumulative effect of the scripted and choreographed ethnic tour of Rigathi Gachagua around the country. You understand? So while you guys are promoting Rigathi Gachagua as even an option in the next election, what he's doing is he's making it difficult for us to realize our objectives. And our objective is Ruto must go, and institutional and structural reform. You understand? That is our objective. So who has gotten us? Kengori is telling us to speak about Gaucho. Who has emboldened Gaucho to speak the way he's speaking? It is none other than Rigathi Gachagua, because he appointed himself as a spokesman of the region without any mandate of the people. He made himself the spokesman. He made himself the kingpin. I was never consulted. I was never done what? Why are you telling us to whatever? Now, secondly, ever since Rigathi Gachagua was impeached, he has never spoken about Ruto must go. He has never rallied sympathetic members of parliament to the cause of impeaching or voting a vote of no confidence against Ruto, but he's just gaslighting people every day over the weekends. He's not giving the punch, he's not giving the right message. Every time you listen to him, like now, for instance, when he was talking about the abductors, he just said a name called Abel. He just said a name called Abel. We had to do the dirty work of finding out the other information. You understand? He just says Abel because he's not there to burn bridges with Ruto. He's not there to challenge the establishment. He's there to gaslight you. He's there to bait you. He's there to distract you. He's there to derail you. You understand? So we have moved from an intellectual high of discussing taxes and whatever in the budget and everything and everything that in between. And now we have been reduced to tribal arithmetic. All because of who? All because of Rigathi Gachagua. So, isn't it plausible that he has been deliberately deployed to serve this very purpose? You understand? Isn't it, do you think it's a coincidence that he is well funded to hire, thank you very much, the Don, he's well funded to hire influencers. There's Cornelius Rono, there's Jim Jue, there's all these people who promote him on X and who promote him on TikTok. They don't do it for free. It's not cheap either. You understand? It's not cheap either. But do you think that it is happening by coincidence? I told you, anyone who wants to vie for president, even Trump himself, Trump started his campaign full throttle last year, August, which was more or less like 4 months to the elections. He never did a rally before that. He never did a campaign before that. So this guy who is doing rallies and is ready to do rallies between now and 2027, where is this money coming from? Have you asked yourself that question? This guy who has influencers and tweets on his payroll to constantly regurgitate his stupidity and mental impotence, where is he getting the funding for that? How much did he steal? Even if he stole 100 billion, which is impossible, maximum cash, I believe, he might have assets, he might be asset rich, but the cash that Rigiji might have come out with cannot be more than 20 billion. With the kind of campaigns that he has already unleashed, with the kind of live TV interviews for them to have, they come to his home in Wamunyoro, you think it is free? You think it is free? For him to spend all that money, you think it is his money? You think rich people spend their money like that? That is government money. For him, he's ready to unleash, to roll out a campaign between now and 2 years. He's ready to sustain it. You genuinely believe it is his money? He's going to his bank account and withdrawing? Sorry. You know, once you get these accounts with no profile picture and whatever, those are the ones which are set by NIS and whatever. I get so many of them on X. I blocked like 5,000 of them on X. So do you think Rigathi Gachagua, all the media tours that he's been going, you think they've been free? There was this lady who's called Sandra Kimani, who was complaining that they have not been paid by, what are these guys called? Affordable bloggers of State House. And so she was talking about, for every interview that she goes, whether it is radio, whether it is TV, you have to go and leave something for the person who has interviewed you. You have to leave 3K or 5K. So you can imagine, for the wall-to-wall coverage that Rigathi Gachagua has been receiving, how much he has paid. You can imagine. Just try and put an amount on it. So you think that this money in here anaenda kwa bank? No, first of all, if he had stolen money and he had stashed it, a genuine government which is cracking down on him would have cracked down on his money, would have blocked his finances, his assets, and everything. Nothing of the sort has happened. He is moving around the country, which shows that he has been allowed. Us, imebidi twende chini ya maji kwa sababu ya tweet moja mbili tatu. Him who is doing significant damage is allowed. That's why I'm telling you, Rigiji is the source of the stupidity that you are seeing with Mbanya and Githaiga. The source is Rigiji because now there is like a baton. Sasa baton ya kushindana ujinga. Sasa mimi ni Gachagua, shika hii Mbanya. Nini hivyo. You understand? Rigiji is the source, is the engineer, is the initiator. Because once again, back in June, we were discussing taxes, we were discussing the whatever debt position, we were on an intellectual high. How we moved from that to this is none other than Rigathi Gachagua, because he turned his impeachment into a Gen Z affair. As we were not involved with him. In fact, what did we say when he was being impeached? We said, Kufa dereva, Kufa makanga. If you're getting rid of the makanga, why leave the driver? Get rid of both sons of bitches. You understand? So, whatever. We were never about whatever. Rigathi Gachagua has desperately then tried to insinuate and associate himself with Gen Z. Even when he goes to meetings, asema, unaona Gen Z, tukiweka kura ya Gen Z. Anaweka kura ya nani? Kuna Gen Z yote yako hapa ametuma ati anasema atavotia nini? Rigiji. Kuna yeyote? So, we have moved from that intellectual high and come low because of one and only Rigathi Gachagua. So, Mbanya, when he's doing whatever he's doing, the person who laid the groundwork for that ethnocentric sewage to spew from his mouth is none other than Rigathi Gachagua. Well, back to my original analysis, that Rigathi Gachagua has been the biggest liability of the movement. He has been the biggest problem that we have had. He has been the biggest problem that we have faced. If he didn't exist, we could have executed June 25th. But he, in his infinite stupidity, saw it wise now to start giving press conferences. He was paying people to say that he's the one behind Gen Z, is the one who, but it was all choreographed to ensure that they galvanize the opposition politicians. Yeah? This guy is saying that I will ban the country one day. I have so much clout. My God. If I ever have such clout, I will use it for good. I will use it for good. I will not use it for whatever. Had Rigathi Gachagua stayed behind the scenes, had he not revealed himself, because there was no need to. In fact, Rigathi Gachagua, if you remember his comments in May, he had told MPs that if you don't vote for the finance bill, we are going to deny CDF to your constituency. Google this while we are still online. He said it with his mouth that if you don't vote for the finance bill 2024, we are going to deny CDF to your constituency. So he has moved within 2-3 months. He has moved from that guy to this other guy, to the freedom fighter, to the kingpin of Murima, to now at speaking for the people. How easily distracted, how easily baited, how easily fooled, how naive could you be to believe that he has ever been for the people? He has never been.